Over the last few months, we've seen a few franchises come back with a bang. After the disappointment that was the Final Fantasy XIII trilogy, we've seen Final Fantasy XV reinvigorate the brand with some fresh ideas and a whole new take on the series' classic tropes. Then there's the like of Resident Evil. After countless poorly received spin-offs and remakes, Resident Evil 7 came along and showed us what Capcom can do when it really tries. If that's not enough for you, how about the likes of Wolfenstein and Doom? Both have been resurrected by Bethesda to critical and commercial acclaim. But there are so many more games in the industry that could do with a little loving revamp to make the series great again. And we're here to examine the franchises that could really use a fresh start. If the recent release of Assassin's Creed the Ezio Collection taught us anything, it's that the early Assassin's Creed games are really something special. The sense of wonder you had exploring these historical cities, the NPCs and characters you'd meet, the ridiculous missions you'd undertake and the buildings you'd scale. It feels like the more modern Assassin's Creed games lost sight of what made the first few so good, and we'd like to see a reboot go back and examine what made the series so popular in the first place. There are rumours of a new game coming out set in Egypt that could potentially be a bit of a reboot. We just hope it will bring back some of the cool present day stuff to give the game a solid through line and justify your actions in the past. Back in the day, Medal of Honor was one of the best first-person shooter franchises out there. It predated the Call of Duty craze but then fell short of the competition by the time 2007 rolled around, and EA tried to diversify the gameplay with Medal of Honor Airborne. The series even got a reboot in 2010 with a simply titled Medal of Honor and Warfighter, an ill-advised sequel, in 2012, but the underwhelming campaign and boring multiplayer pretty much killed the series off. We think the game is due a comeback. Think about how nice a third game could sit in between the super twitchy Call of Duty and the expansive open-ended multiplayer mayhem and destruction of Battlefield. We think there's a gap in the market for that, and we think Medal of Honor could be just the thing to fill it. Yes, we know Tomb Raider got a reboot recently, and we know that Rise of the Tomb Raider and its prequel were pretty well received, but we still think the new games are lacking something. They try too hard to frame Lara Croft as a new Nathan Drake and force an emotional story around her. We long for a more traditional experience in Tomb Raider, a game that revolves heavily around exploration and puzzle solving, none of this over-the-top combat and crafting and survival malarkey. With rumours of a follow-up Shadow of the Tomb Raider in the works though, we doubt we'll see this anytime soon. SSX, the original, was one of the best reviewed sports games of the decade, and with good reason. The snowboarding game fended off all its competition flawlessly, and its 4 sequels were all pretty well received, particularly SSX Tricky. The 2012 reboot reviewed well, but solid critical reception didn't translate to sales performance to match, making sure the series didn't see another resurgence. The release of Ubisoft's Steep last year showed there's still a market for winter sports games, but instead of a sort of simulator game, we'd like to see a much more arcadey experience, where you can smack people off their boards and bomb down mountains doing ludicrous Jesus Christ pose tricks. We can dream, right? Tony Hawk's Pro Skater enjoyed a lot of success since it began in 1999, but the skating game's empire came crashing down in 2009 with a simply appalling Tony Hawk's Ride. In 2012, Activision reminded us all how good the originals were though. The first 3 games were released in HD via an anthology, and it made us long for the glory days of Neversoft's finest. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 was an abomination, and if anything, it nailed shut the coffin on the series. We just hope that even if Tony Hawk doesn't come back with a stunning new game out of nowhere, we'll at least get a skate game instead. From its humble beginnings as a side-scrolling NES game, Ninja Gaiden quickly became one of the most acclaimed action games on the Xbox. The 2004 reboot was lauded for its super hard gameplay, grim environments, and bloody combat. The game worked through a few iterations, each getting better and better, before Yaiba Ninja Gaiden Z embarrassed us all with its juvenile humour and appalling gameplay. In a world where Neo is reviewing incredibly well and everyone in the world is fawning over Dark Souls, we think a rebooted Ninja Gaiden would go down a storm. Make it happen, Team Ninja. Silent Hill was born in 1999 with a game that burned itself into the consciousness of a whole generation, and it went on for a good decade or so, churning out nerve-shredding psychological horror. Then it all started to fall apart. Homecoming and Downpour are generally agreed to be kinda bad, and we thought we'd seen the end of the series until Hideo Kojima's PT, or Silent Hills, surfaced on PlayStation 4 in 2014. Obviously, Konami fucked it when they ousted Kojima from the company, and now a decent Silent Hill game seems further away than ever. Maybe, just maybe, Konami will get its shit together and release a Silent Hill game worthy of the brand in the future. But what are the chances of that happening?